Hello and welcome to Strike News TV. This is another roundup type video or even discussion where some of our viewers have asked questions on the likes of Twitter, YouTube and of course Facebook. I'm going to discuss them. It's not just going to be me every time. The likes of Ian, Jonathan, Serge will be chipping in, I'm sure, in the near future. Just yesterday I discussed some transfer targets, who mentioned that they're looking for, who the press are linking us with, and obviously names like Gaal, Thomas Vermaelen and several popped up, and since that went live, Arsene Wenger came out to the media today in a press conference and said that they have received offers for Thomas Vermaelen, and that not just domestic offers from clubs within England but also clubs abroad, which Arsenal would understandably rather sell him abroad because they don't want to go up against Thomas Vermaelen in the league next season, understandably so. Moving on, also yesterday after the video went live, Howard Webb announced his retirement from refereeing and is now gone as the technical director of the Official Referees Association. How to take that news? Howard Webb was the best referee in England for some time. To prove that, he was asked to referee in games such as the Champions League final, World Cup final, and also every season he had a tendency to get the big games in England. Yesterday, following the announcement, there was some comments across social media from other supporters from different clubs, almost laughing at that he retired a year or two after Ferguson, and that the two of them will get back together being pally and so on. I think people build those assumptions about referees. It's not an easy job. And Howard has given decisions against United and for United, as have most referees. That's just the way the game goes. It's very difficult to get everything exactly spot on. And Howard Webb, out of most of them, did do that. Bias towards United, this and that. Look, people can say what they like. The reality is that he would not have got those big gigs if the likes of UEFA and FIFA didn't think that he was suited to it, that he wasn't good, that he was good enough. Of course he was good enough. And I think the FA have lost their best referee. I think we no real doubts about that, who's going to step up to the mark. There's a few out there that haven't done too bad in previous seasons, a few young referees coming through. And we must all realise it's not an easy role, an easy job to do. You got people, fans, and players. Sometimes it tends to just be personal abuse. We've seen fans in the past mock illnesses of referees that like the cancer the referee had battled. It was brought up on a terraces, and it's just things like that the referees have to deal with. And it's we don't see as fans that unless you referee yourself, it's not the easiest of jobs. And I'm not saying I'm never angered by some referee decisions. Of course we are. It's football fans. You can never say that, oh, you've never been pissed off over a bad decision. I remember Newcastle, it was 2 seasons ago, and Rio won the ball inside the box and Newcastle were given a penalty and the game finished 1-1 at Old Trafford. I remember walking away from the ground that night and just there was no chat from us. We were just all sickened. And it was down to a decision that was an absolute howler of one. But in fairness to Howard Webb, those mistakes were very, very seldom. Usually he was a fantastic referee, and in terms of the big games in England, he'll be missed, and of course the big ones in Europe and the World Cup. Who steps up? We'll have to wait and see. The season is just around the corner, and who will be the next English referee to manage the Champions League final, a World Cup final? Well, it might not happen soon, but you'd like to think that'll happen at some point. Because the referees fight a part of the game, and there's no denying that. A question from Twitter, Manish asked about United having too many number 10s. Louis van Gaal has touched on this previously, and I don't think anyone can deny it about balance in the squad. He's said a number of times that he needs more defenders. There's too many number 10s, and you look at the number 10s, you've got Juan Mata. Rooney plays number 10, although I think Van Gaal prefers him as a number 9. when you look at the number of 10s we can't all play in that position, so we need to find positions for other players. And if Rooney can fit as number 9 alongside Van Persie or Welbeck or whoever Van Gaal starts, great. I want to see Rooney in the team, and I want to see the likes of Matza in the team. The other number 10s, of course, Jesse Lingard, who deserves a chance. But he's more of a winger, but he can play in number 10 role, and Van Gaal knows that. Januzaj is another, and of course Shinji Kagawa. Shinji Kagawa has been linked to the move away to Atletico Madrid along with Javier Hernandez. The fee, 25 million, I think, is a bit of a steal. United should be asking for a lot more than that. 35 million, maybe 40. 25 million would be a steal for those two. But back to the topic, number 10s. I do like Kagawa a lot, and I think it would be great to see him stay. I think it'd give Van Gaal a bit of a challenge, because Fergie wasn't able to find the perfect role for Kagawa, and David Moyes wasn't either. It resulted in them being pushed out to the left. It just didn't work. Kagawa didn't have that pace. He had this technical excellence that you want to see him in his preferred role. Then what came to it, when he did play in that role, at times he'd go hidden in games. You wouldn't see that of him, and his reign at Borussia Dortmund, it was when he was involved with games, he was spectacular. And if he's not being involved, then you're just missing out. And I always thought that putting him out on the left, you're pissing in the wind, which I think by doing that, you're lacking that pace out wide, which United did as a result. Then you got Januzaj. I think Januzaj played left a lot last season, and I think now from watching him in the reserves, he is number 10. So if you thought he was good out wide last season, imagine him in his actual position. What I think had happened this season, Van Gaal is a manager that trusts in youth, and I think we all want to see the development of Januzaj grow. We want to see a world beater. He's got so much potential. He just needs to put his head down and continue working hard. But for me, Mata is the number 10 going into the new season. But where does that leave Januzaj? Another question came in is how is he going to fit the likes of Rooney, Mata, Januzaj and Van Persie? How's he going to fit those 4 players? You can't play all 4, because then you're going to lack defensively, and at the minute we've already kind of struggling with that back three. They're finding it difficult to adjust to the new system, and we lost a lot of experience back there. So how's he gonna go with that system with those 4 attacking players? Who's he gonna leave out? I think Van Persie's a start. I think Wayne Rooney at number 9 is a definite for most games. I think if Rooney was given captaincy, you need to remember we haven't got Champions League next season. And granted, he can stay fit. Rooney will play 38 games next season as a leader, and if he's in good form, he's the type of player that needs his arm around the shoulder, which I think Van Gaal knows that, and he's already doing it. Was hugging him in training, and Rooney looks fit. Number of times to come back after pre-season, and he doesn't look fit, whereas this time he does. He looks ready to go, which that's a massive boost for Manchester United. The number 10 role for me, like I just said, was Mata, but you don't want to miss out on Januzaj. So it's going to be interesting to see what Van Gaal does do. I think it's great to be in a situation with a headache, and they can select either one. You can switch it about depending on the opposition, depending on how the game is going. That bit of fresh legs, and Januzaj and Mata will give that. It's one of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing this upcoming season, is how we do set up with that in mind. Who do we leave out? How do we deal with that? How do we switch it around? I think Van Gaal, he come into this club, and there's so much to be excited about. In contrast to David Moyes, I think kudos to people that did stand by Moyes for all the time. I did question him from day one, and it was down to the past. He had nothing on his CV to kind of fill me with confidence. There was no evidence that he could take over a job like this, and that proved to be the case. Van Gaal has come in his first press conference. He spoke with managers in the likes of Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Ajax, and the best clubs in those given countries. Although Real Madrid fans will argue with that. And now he's come to Manchester United, and he's managing the best club in England. he's done this before. He's been successful doing this before. And Brendan Rodgers coming out talking about how competitive the league is, and it's going to be a wake-up call for Van Gaal. Yeah, when you win the league title, when you win anything, come back, and then you can give a manager with that experience some advice. But then again, I think Van Gaal will put that over his head. He'll ignore it totally. Constant Red on Twitter asked, do we need fullbacks on both sides? I think with the system, fullbacks, wingbacks, there's a difference. Unless a fullback can transform into a wingback, yeah. I think Luke Shaw was a fullback last season, and he did bump. Fullbacks can't bump him down the wing. That's the way it's become. Wingbacks more so. There's more pressure on to get up and down the line throughout the 90 minutes, and I think that's the transformation that Luke Shaw needs to make. Will he do it? It's looking good. His fitness was questioned, and ever since he's been working very hard. He's been improving on tour. He's reading the game, something that I've been really impressed with. It was against Liverpool when he came on as a substitution when Valencia went off injured. On the other side, do we need fullbacks? I think there is a bit of a difference between a wingback and a fullback, and I think that we are going to go down the wingback route. I think that's what Van Gaal is looking to do. He's playing like wingers in the role, wingers that he can trust to defend. And that's just another question someone has asked about. Simon from Twitter said, Young does not have the defensive mentality for a wing back. Now there I disagree. I think Young has got a lot of stick throughout his career at Manchester United, and I think at times we expect him to be Ronaldo or Georgie Best. And the one thing about Young, he does always work hard, and it's the reason that Ferguson would always select him in the big games against your Chelsea's, against so on. And the reason he did that was because Young would track back, give Everett the assistance needed when his back was against the wall, whereas you would not get that from the likes of Nani. And Coward did at times last season too, whereas I can't see Coward as a wing back. I don't see him as a winger anyway. He's a number 10. But Young defensively, and so he was superb. And so I know Rooney got player of the ICC, but for me I thought Young was a great shout too. It's just his how he transformed in a matter of weeks. What Van Gaal has done, he's some of the players that lack so much confidence, and how quickly he has them performing well is massive. And over time, I expect it to get better. And defensively, I think Young is surprised, although he's always had that streak in his game. At times on tour, he looked better defensively than he hasn't been going forward. So I wouldn't question Ashley Young defensive at all. I think he's been good. Another one is Antonio Valencia, who's been playing right wing back, and funny enough, Ferguson and Moyes did play him at times at right back, and he's a winger. So it wasn't exactly rocket science to play him as a wing back. He's been used to both roles. Ideally, I'd look for someone else, but if he's all we have, he'll do the job. He's an absolute engine, Valencia, and a tank. He's not one that I'm sure fullbacks or even wingers now will look forward to come up against, because he's a unit. He's bundles of pace. So he's only got a new contract at United. So Van Gaal will make most of what he can out of him. It's needless to say that we need to go out and buy a wing back for the right now. We've also got Raphael, who has been injured since the tour began, and I'd like to see him given a chance too. I think Raphael is fantastic going forward. The question of the side of his game has always been defensively, and although he has picked up on that, especially 2 seasons ago, he was the most improved player in the side. And last year he was quite poor, but there's very few players now you could say the opposite about under David Moyes. A lot of them performed poorly, so I think it's unfair to pinpoint people and kind of say that he's poor last season, let's flog him off. You need to remember the season beforehand too, when Raphael was phenomenal. And I'd definitely keep him, give him a chance and see what he can do at wing back over time. Like Luke Shaw, in terms of fitness, it's going to take some time to adjust that. Hopefully that Raphael can do the same. Another last question from Twitter comes in from the transfer mole. How would Di Maria fit into our system? Now, I didn't really want to touch on transfer talk, as I did that yesterday, and it gets boring. I would. See, the thing with Di Maria is he seems PSG bound, and he had a great season at Real Madrid last year, and had a major say in them winning the Champions League. And it did strike me as odd how they're kind of putting him up for sale, and that he's on his way out after how impressive he was last season. How would he fit into the system? Don't know. Like I said, we're not really playing wingers. I don't know enough about his defensive side of his game. Can he track back? I'm not going to pretend I do when I don't. Although I have seen, from watching Madrid, he's quite versatile. He can play across midfield, and he did that a bit last season and contributed to assists. And he has a knack. He's a knack for goal too. Poor World Cup mind, but a lot of big names at Argentina had a poor World Cup. Higuain blossomed as the World Cup went on, but at the start himself and Higuain were not very good. When called upon, he just seemed to be messy. That was expected to do it, and whether that was set up or not, I don't know. But I think Di Maria is PSG bound, cost an absolute fortune. But I do wonder why Real Madrid are so seems so quick to want to get rid of him after a fantastic season he had last season. Is that true? I don't know. But listening to the likes of Graham Hunter speak about Di Maria, he speaks very positively about him, and has already said, I think it was off the ball on News Talk, that he'd be a great signer in the Premier League. He's got that hunger, and he's great going forward. So look, in terms of where we play in our system, I've already mentioned that we've got Van Persie, we've already got Rooney, we already got Januzaj and Mata, and we're already kind of facing a bit of a headache in where we're going to start those players. By adding Di Maria into that fold, I think it makes it even worse. Maybe worse the wrong word. Makes it even more difficult. I think what United need is strengthening defensively right now, across midfield and across the back three, if you would. That's the questions we have from Twitter. I'll move on quickly to Facebook. Just make sure you do subscribe to this channel and you like Stretty News on Facebook, Stretty News on Twitter, and also Stretty News TV on Twitter. We're posting a lot in the seasons around the corner, so you can expect a lot more videos like this and of course articles. Just two questions from Twitter. Corday asked me to discuss Lindegaard, his chances this season and the need for improvement from De Gea in terms of saving penalties. Lindegaard, I can't see many chances unless Van Gaal gives him a run out in the cups, in the Carling Cup. There's also Sam Johnstone. I like Johnstone probably more than I like Lindegaard. I think they're both similar in terms of physique, but at times Lindegaard has been quite outspoken. I think when Fergie was mixing in and out with De Gea and Lindegaard, I did fear for the development of De Gea in terms of confidence. Obviously that wasn't the case. De Gea is just exceptional, and it seems the more mistakes he makes, the better it makes him. He comes back much stronger. You need to remember when he came to England, the critics were out hurling abuse. He wasn't getting much of a chance. The media really focusing on his mistakes, and he just bounced back stronger. And Eric Steele gave a great interview to Andy Mitchell at We Stand 2 seasons ago, or last season, sorry, and just discussed things about his diet and his hunger to improve and his training habits and how United scout goalkeepers. I think one of the lines was that, De Gea played against Liverpool away. I think it was Liverpool. United were scouting him, and he came out for a cross and just cleared the ball, and that was the standout for Eric Steele's scouting, or the scouting staff, was that against Liverpool he was willing, he was hungry, he was coming out and he was pushing balls away, which was one of the parts of his game when he came tonight that he wasn't too good at. And I think he's improved with his physique. He's bigger, he's much leaner. Like when he came to Manchester United first, his jersey looked too big for him. It looked like a dress, a nightgown, and that's changed dramatically. In terms of saving penalties, I think over time he just... I don't know how you answer that one. I'm not a goalkeeper myself. it comes with time, I guess. There are goalkeepers out there that are very good at saving penalties. And funnily enough, on tour, we left in more goals and penalties than we did in open play. I think we only left in something like 1 or 2 goals in open play. These are an area of concern. Look, we shouldn't be conceding penalties. Defenders should be on top of that. And that happens, we don't need to worry about De Gea's lack of saving penalties. Last question. Mike has asked on Twitter for me to mention his columns on StrikingNews.com. Mike is an all-round loudmouth. It's a fitting term for him. He writes great articles and very opinionated and has a different kind of touch. There's lots of outside football references and it can be quite humorous at times. So Mike is definitely worth follow on Twitter too. It's Mike_loudmouth. I think he likes showing off that he's a bit of a big mouth, but in a good way. In a good way, he's opinionated and he makes good points. And we've a number of writers at Striking News that we can boast about in that aspect. Hope you enjoyed the video. So make sure you subscribe to Striking News TV. You like Striking News on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Striking News and at Striking News TV. We'll be back with more content as the season draws closer. Hopefully a few Google Hangouts with some guests and some of the boys for Striking News TV. For the meantime, we'll see you soon.